In this presentation, we will take a look at where to set up a new employee within QuickBooks. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Here we are on the home page. We currently have the open windows open. In order to open the open windows, you go to the view drop down and select the open windows list. Once we have the new employee and the W-4 information, then we're going to add those new employees, and one place to go to do that is the Employee Center, Employees drop-down, Employee Center. Within the Employee Center, we're going to have the Employees tab. First tab, Employees tab. We got our two current employees here. If you were to add an employee, we would just select this new employee item. So typically all we need to have the payroll to be set up already. So the payroll to be set up, we would have to do so by purchasing the payroll and or setting up the manual payroll, then going through the interview process, which is in the employee section, set up payroll setup. Once that is up and running, if we don't have all the employees in there at that time, or if we add new employees at a later time, then we can go to this Employee Center, say new employee. As we do, I'm just going to open up one of the current screens that we currently have filled out. We'll open up Anthony. We have the information, most of which we're going to get from the W-4. So if we have the W-4 in hand, we can get most of this information populated from it, including, of course, the name, and then the contact, the social security number, the gender. We typically would need the date of birth and the marital status for processing and continuing to process through. Some of the other stuff in these screens will not be mandatory in order to process payroll. Some will be mandatory in order to process payroll. QuickBooks is, of course, using these screens both in terms of processing payroll to make sure that we have all the mandatory information and to help store data for our employees. Therefore, we're going to have some screens that may be there just to store added information, a nice place to put that added information about our employees, and for those things that are going to be necessary in order to process payroll. And in the address tab, we're going to need the address. That is going to be mandatory because we need to put that on the W-2 for the employee and the one we send to the IRS for the W-2 that we're going to send in. And then we have the contact information, which may not be as necessary, however, nice to have in one spot. So if we need it, we can go to it, know where to find it within QuickBooks. And then we have the additional information. We got the payroll information. This, of course, is the information that's going to be set up for payroll. Many of these items are going to be driven by us setting up payroll items. We'll go through that in the example problem. But once these are set up, and these are going to be in the lists, and we set up the payroll items, then we can set up things like the hourly, the overtime, and any other payroll items we have, including benefits, garnishments that we could have for the employee on this side. Then we're going to set up the information for the withholdings. That's going to be in the tax item here. So we'd go into taxes. This, again, information from the W-4. We're on the federal tab. We need to have the marital status, and we need to have the number of allowances from the W-4. This is important. We're not prying here. We need to have that information. It's like, why would we need to know their marital status or how many exemptions they have? What business is it of ours if we need them just to, as an employee, possibly some people might think, I don't know, but we need it in order to calculate the federal income tax because that's just the way the federal income tax is set up. They set it up based on tables, and those tables are based on marital status because that's going to change the calculation for FIT and the federal income taxes at the end of the year. So we need the allowances and the federal income tax. And then the state information will be here as well. And that'll differ, of course, from state to state. Having QuickBooks help us with those differences from state to state. Very nice, very useful. Closing this back out. We can also, of course, set up the direct deposit here and the sick and vacation pay from this information as well. Then we go to the employee information. We've got the date hire, which is going to be mandatory. So we're going to we should have the date hire, original hire date, adjusted service date, release date. So if there was a release date, last date of payroll, And then we have the employment details, employment type, if it's regular, officer, statutory, or owner. We can say what type of employee we have here, full-time or part-time. We have the exempt or non-exempt, and we'll discuss more of what those terms mean, exempt and non-exempt. And then we have the key employee, yes or no. Job titles here, supervisor, department description. Again, a lot of this detail may be more than is necessary for a simple type of payroll setup, but could be good informational setup and good to organize our employees into categories, especially as the company gets larger and more complex. Leave of absence. We've got the details and dates of the leave of absence and the terminations. So last day work, last day benefits, release date, termination details, termination type, termination reason. And again, this is good information for us to process and make sure that we have the detail for the termination, because any kind of termination of the employee is something that could be subject to problems down the line. We want to make sure if there's any kind of issues that we've logged in and documented our information related to them. Then we have the workers' comp information. This could vary from state to state for workers' comp, so you want to research what kind of workers' comps you might be liable for or responsible for as the employee, depending on the location of the company. It's not a federal information, so we're not really concentrating on the workers' comp at this time, but just be aware that from location to location, type of job to type of job, we want to know and be aware of workers' comp's responsibilities for them. So again, much of this information can be filled in and processed through the form, through the use of Form W-4 for a new employee. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.